Scott, thanks for coming on to Social Dream Machine. The show is dedicated basically to the monetization of social media. So I think that you're one of the greatest people to ask because you've been at the side hustle game for quite a while now. I would consider you a 7-figure creator. You have multiple streams of income. You're kind of one of the OGs actually in the space that's been kind of actually hammering on like the get your ass like and get another job. I actually got laid off like a week ago to your point, but thank God to like my resume, or not my resume, but my LinkedIn, I ended up getting 2 job offers, got a job without a resume, and then 2 opportunities for my side hustle.
That's how it's done. That's how it's done.
For the audience that doesn't know you, could you just tell us what you're up to and some of your main projects?
Yeah. So my name is Scott Leese. I've been building and scaling sales teams for the better part of 20 years now. I was a VP of sales a half dozen times. I've written a couple of sales books. I run a business called the Surf and Sales Summit, a small micro sales and leadership conference down in Costa Rica a couple times a year. The last 4.5 years, I've been running my own consulting firm, helping primarily early stage startups with their go-to-market strategy and execution and sales ops projects and things like that. And used to run a couple different communities. I ran this community called Thursday Night Sales for a number of years during the pandemic, and run a community called GTM United. I used to have a Patreon group, done some angel investing, do some private VP of sales and AE coaching. I got a lot of different things going on.
Yeah, so you've always kind of believed in like diversifying your income streams, and there's nothing scarier like when you get like kicked when you only have like one stream of income, and then like you're in a tough job market. I think that's just like a shit place to be in. But it's interesting too. How do you view the creator market too? Like it seems like it's changed like quite a bit. Like this idea of like building an audience, or maybe it hasn't changed, and maybe it's just like a new way of looking at like building these offers and like these newsletters and kind of these Justin Walsh folks and like yourself, like building digital products and things like that. It's just a very interesting space. Thoughts on that?
Well, it's definitely evolved. You know, the first time that I was doing any kind of side hustling ish stuff was like 2013, 2014. And it was just people messaging me via LinkedIn, asking for advice or coaching and whatnot. And that was all there was. But now everybody's got this like down to a science, you know, regardless of the platform that you're on. There's assets that you sell. So books, courses, things like that. There's events that you sell, that you put on, like my event in Costa Rica could be considered one of those. There's coaching and training. There's mastermind groups. You know, you go on and on and on. And people know all these different channels, and they know that it's very dangerous to allow an employer that we don't trust or get treated that well by sometimes control our entire income stream. And you lose a job a week ago and, you know, you got no money coming in, you're in trouble. And so people just started really thinking like, that's not the right way to live. You know, if I can do this 9-to-5 job and earn X amount, and if I can spend a little bit of time, you know, 5 to 9 or on the weekend or whatever, you know, without killing myself, maybe working and building like a whole company, if I can just do this little thing here and monetize it a little bit, you know, that provides a little bit of safety. And you're just trying to kind of replace one bill at a time. Like, how can you replace your phone bill this month? It's $150, let's say, your phone bill. What can you do to make $150? Bang, phone bill gone. And you just kind of slowly build it up until maybe your rent is gone, or maybe your entire base salary is matched by what you're doing on the side. And at that point, people started looking around saying, well, what the fuck am I doing? Working for somebody else, taking on all this risk. If I go all in on myself, I'm already matching my income. Maybe I can make more and not have a boss, not have somebody tell me what my hours are, not have somebody tell me what my growth goals are. And yeah, more and more people have gone this direction, and they've gone to it sooner and sooner in their career. But rather than waiting 15 plus years, 20 years like I did, now you got people who are starting to do this thing after they've, you know, got 6 minutes of experience, right? Which is not necessarily the worst thing in the world for them, potentially not the best thing in the world for whoever's buying services from somebody who, really doesn't have that much experience to back it up. But that's what people are doing. And now they see the like W-2 kind of path as a necessary evil. And they're sort of waiting until they get to a place where they can cut the cord and go all in on themselves.
I actually, the last company that I worked for didn't like that I was building on the side. They thought it was a distraction, and I kind of got a little bit pushed out as a result of that. But I was okay with it because I felt like if the company is not going to like, if the company's gonna have a problem with you doing that, that's probably not the right company for you to be working at. So I don't know. There's not creator. I feel like you almost have to be creator friendly or something like that in order to. Do you find that to be the case too? Like where a lot of like brands or a lot of companies are upset by like other people building for themselves?
I think there are some out there, but I think it's less and less. It's an atrocious argument, right? Like, let's use your former company as an example. Would they have had the same reaction if you told them that you were driving an Uber at night to help make ends meet?
No,
they don't. Would they have had the same reaction?
Yeah.
No, they wouldn't care, right? What about if you were bartending at night to make some extra cash, or babysitting, or dog walking?
No, I don't think
they don't give a shit about those things. Suddenly, those okay. So now it's not the thing that I'm spending time doing, or it's the thing, not like the act that I'm spending time doing something else. Right. So really, you're mad that I'm podcasting or writing content or working on a book, which is absurd. Like, you don't get to fucking tell me how I spend my time when I'm not working for you. And as long as I'm performing and hitting my, goals and targets and all that, you don't have a say-so whatsoever. You don't own this space on these social media profiles. No, I'm not changing my background banner to your company, heading. No, I'm not only reposting your, blog post of the month or whatever. we don't do that anymore. There's no reason for that. So it's very short-sighted, and they're trying to put the genie back into the box, and it's never going to happen. Because, we'll use you again. Like, you're never going to go work someplace again who's going to give you shit about the stuff you're doing on the side. You'll vet that out. You'll ask the right kind of questions. You'll ask other people who work there, and you'll never go to that kind of place. So they're going to lose the talent war behaving that way. Nobody's going to want to go work for them.
They were a little bit upset that I changed the banner and I took their name off of it, because I was just like, they almost like the way they were acting. It wasn't like they were like just happy about it. They were like almost entitled. So I like just said screwed and I removed it. And that's kind of when the relationship started getting even like more south, actually, because I think it was like almost like a high school girlfriend or something like that. Like, you take off their banner or whatever, and they're like, "F you." Yeah. It was very childish. Yeah. Like, in my opinion.
Took my friendship bracelet off.
I was wondering, like, you're really good at like just essentially like not thinking too much when you're starting like a new project like surf and sales. Like, you kind of just like said, all right, the worst that could happen is I rent these cabanas and these people come and no one shows up, and I have like a dope thing with my family. I feel like people overcomplicate things. So how do we simplify, like, for people that are new to business?
To me, it's all about shrinking the delta between idea and action. And too many people have ideas, and then they think about it, and they overthink it more, and they think of reasons not to try something, or all the reasons it could fail. Or even they stay excited about it, but they just don't do anything about it. So I'm a huge believer in just shrinking the amount of time that goes by. You have this idea. Jeremy and Scott go to lunch. We have this idea to do something. I believe if we don't take action quick, it's not going to happen, because we all have too many different priorities and things going on. And I always come back to the question of what's the worst that can happen. And if you have the right perspective, you realize it's actually not that bad. If you think about certain things that we have all been through in our lives, it's, fucking miracle that we're all still here, considering either dumb shit that we did or bad shit that happened to us or whatever. Right. So I try to think about that. Like, what is this hardest moments of my life? I spent 4 years in the hospital in my 20s fighting for my life. You think I care if my business fails? You think I care that much if I miss quota? You think I care if I get fired by this company who doesn't want me to, have my own side hustles and stuff? Get out of here. Like, I've been through way worse. So, I have this idea for surf and sales, this wacky idea, like, let's rent a couple of houses on the beach in Costa Rica. Let's get salespeople and sales leaders to come out and teach them and do all this stuff. I put the business together. I plunk some money down. The worst thing that can happen is nobody comes. I look a little bit silly. Nobody remembers in 5 minutes that I failed. And, it's only money. And if I know how to make money, I can replace the money that I just lost. So let's give it a shot and see what happens. And that's something that you have to live as like a philosophy, even in your day-to-day life. You ever hang out with those friends who can't figure out like what restaurant to go to or what movie to go see or what to do on a Sunday? It's like, dude, stop thinking and just start doing something. That's the philosophy that I try to live by, in particular how it pertains to like side hustles and new projects and things like that.
How do you look at like money, like your relationship towards money? Because I know that your relationship towards money into like side hustling has changed over the years and like starting businesses. I'm sure back in the day you probably thought in like terms of hourly, and then or maybe you went straight into like maybe I need to work with people on the retainer for X amount of months and projects type of thing. How has your like thoughts like towards money changed over the years? Because I'm sure that your hourly has gone like skyrocketed over time.
I actually never did hourly. I think it's one of the smartest things I ever did was not bill by the hour or whatnot, because you're not paying me for how long it takes me to get something done. You're paying me for getting it done right. And actually the inverse should be true. If I get the thing done right and I get it done right faster, I should get paid more, not get punished, right? Like you give me a project that's supposed to take 2 hours and I nail it in 1 hour, you should give me a raise. You shouldn't deduct 1 hour's worth of work from me. So I never did that. I always was into the retainer based thing and the project based, and I really avoided like 1 month kind of deals. Everything I'm doing is like 3 to 6 months at the very least, so it has time to evolve and and execute properly. As far as a relationship with money, I mean, I can remember the very first kind of coaching side hustle advisor thing that I had. And I was very nervous to ask people for $500 a month. I didn't think that anybody should pay me, or I didn't think I was worth $500 a month. And I had a couple of those, and then I was talking to somebody, a friend of mine, and he was like, "You're charging what? You need to like 10x your price, dude. What are you talking about?" And I was like, "No way, no, nobody's gonna pay me, this particular amount." So the next couple prospects I got, I raised the price from 500 to 1,000, and sure enough, people paid. And then I got a couple at 1,000, and then I got a little ambitious, and I said, I wonder if I get 2,000 out of somebody. And then I raised it again to 2,500, and I just keep kind of inching it up until I've found like a threshold, if you will, that nobody kind of seems to want to go beyond. And so I sit sort of right under that threshold right now. And I didn't cut the cord fully to replace the earnings that I had. I always said like the only way I'm cutting the cord is if I see a path to 7 figures and beyond. Right? I have no interest in, to each their own, but like I'm not trying to run my own business and make $100,000 a year. I'm not doing that. I was making 400 grand plus equity as a VP of sales. So first step financially was like, can I replace 400K? If I can replace 400K doing this like 20% of the time, I've got to be able to go way above that working by myself 100% of the time. And so now it's like, okay, 7-figure earner, 5 years in a row in the low 7 figures. Like I'm pretty cool with that. One of the good things about running my own business is I have nobody coming to me saying you need to double revenue next year. I'd like to double revenue, but I don't want to work that much more. If I could double revenue and work less, okay. Otherwise, who cares, right? Like for me, my life is not going to fundamentally change if I make $3 million compared to $2 million this year.
Not having that stress of a quota and like the VCs, that's like a very toxic environment. This sounds like a much more healthy business, but at the same time, by no means at all, like just still crushing it and doing extremely well. which is fucking amazing. How do you view like systems too? Do you use like a lot of systems to keep all of your like income coming in?
This is gonna set the internet on fire, but like I use basically nothing. I am notorious for spending money on nothing, having virtually zero tech stack whatsoever. I don't use a CRM. I don't use an enablement platform. I don't use a social media scheduling platform like Buffer or something like that. I don't use any AI tools to help me write content or check my spelling and grammar. None of this kind of stuff. My partner at Surf and Sales, Richard Harris, like he's a knick-knack guy. He like collects all these tools. He uses all these different things. You know, I'm like, I spend nothing. I spend nothing.
Like actually, there's people that sell stuff out of Google Docs now, which I think is hilarious. There's some sellers that I've seen that legit will sell like 10, like 5-figure packages out of a Google Doc. I'm like, what the hell?
More power to them, right? You understand like your margins in your business. You understand a trade off for like doing this thing yourself versus, you know, having a tool do it for you or having a VA, which I do not have a virtual assistant. You know, and no shade on the people that use all that kind of stuff. That works for them. Just for me, like I'm very stingy in this way. Like I don't want to spend $8.99 a month on some tool that can put posts out for me. It's like, what? I can fucking time the post myself. Why would I pay $9 a month for this? Right? It's not that I can't afford it. It's just like a principle kind of thing, you know. And maybe it's a little bit of you know, my background, where I come from. Like I don't come from money. I grew up in the poorest county in all of California. You know, my dad was a teacher. My mom was a part-time nurse. Like our vacation every year was driving 12 hours from Northern California down to LA. I wasn't going to Europe or Hawaii or all these other places that, you know, spoiled kids like my own get to go to nowadays. So I grew up like, you know, being financially kind of aware and responsible. And even as my income has gone way up, I still kind of operate that way. You know, I don't want to get ahead of my skis and start spending money wastefully.
No, I get that. I think there's something to be said about simplicity too and what's possible. Because I think that people can go the other way too and then overly complicate everything, you know, like just have too many systems for everything. And just, I don't know. I've also seen people that will waste like 2 hours, like an accounting issue, like that's costing them like way more money to actually look into it than just to write the thing off type of thing. There are just certain people that do questionable business decisions for whatever reason.
And especially if you're first getting started, for anybody out there, like you should be spending money on nothing when you're first getting started, as far as I'm concerned. You know, it took me at least 3 years plus before I got a website for my consulting business. And I ran 3 surf and sales, maybe 2, at least 1 or 2 surf and sales, I think, before we had a website for that business. Right. So it's like, this is my point of like taking action rather than just have this idea. Most people are like, I'm going to start a business. Okay. I need to get a fancy website. I need to, you know, have this pay portal or whatever. I need to do this marketing. I need to get my mission statements. I didn't do any of that shit. I've been doing this full time for 4.5 years now. I still have prospects ask me if I have any kind of one pager, you know, that sums up what I don't have a one pager. I do not have a PDF one pager. I do not have any marketing materials whatsoever. None. Is that smart? I don't know. It's probably stupid. If I had stuff, maybe I would do a little better. But my point is, in the beginning, I was not going to get hung up on not being able to do the job or not being able to get paid because I didn't have X. I was just going to do the job, right? Until I felt like, okay, you know, maybe I should get a website. It looks like I'm not going to fail at this thing. Well, maybe I'll get a website. Okay, I can do that. And then I find like a, you know, as inexpensive way to do the website as I could. But I know creators who have left their sales jobs or their VP jobs or whatever, and they're like, I'm going full time on my own. I'm like, okay, cool. What's like your plan? And they're like listing off all these things that they have to do. I got to buy this domain. I got to do all this. I'm just like, oh, you're wasting time. You know, why don't you get a couple clients first? and then start worrying about that other stuff. Just a different philosophy.
I worked for free for my, and that's also like kind of like, a hot topic or whatever, like to work for free or not. And I did it for social proof. I helped like two people launch podcasts, one person in Perth in Western Australia and another guy like in like the UK. So I thought for me it was fine. Like I did it just for like that social proof, and then I use that essentially for, because to me that's like digital gold. People really, I mean, I don't think, I think you'll have an easier time selling if you have it essentially for like when you're looking for like clients. What's your thoughts on that?
You should probably stick around until you have a certain level of credibility. You know, you should probably build a network before you try to go out on your own and attract clients. You know, if you and I quit our jobs right now and one person has a massive network and the other one doesn't,
Mm-hmm.
the one without the massive network probably has to get out there and prospect very heavily, right? You
Mm-hmm.
got to cold call, you got to cold email, you got to go to events, you got to do all this kind of stuff. The person with the network can just communicate inside the network. They can basically just like create this demand gen function and just market their way into getting clients, right? If I go out there right now and say, hey everybody, I just created a new course with my pal Jeremy. It's called the Creators Room. 250 bucks. Check it out. I promise you, we'll get sales today
Mm-hmm.
because I've got 111,000 followers on LinkedIn. Some portion of those is going to convert, and we'll make some money today. But if I had virtually no LinkedIn network, if I had 500 connections on there, and I go post the same thing, I'm not going to be able to. It's not going to get seen. First of all. And second of all, there's not that many people that know me in any capacity, know who I am, what my experience level is. So they're not going to trust that this money they'd spent on the Creator Room product with us would be of any value, right? So
Mm.
the first thing that you should be doing is you should be gathering experience and excelling to the best of your ability. The second thing you should be doing is building your online network every single day. It's got to be like a daily KPI for you, right? And
Mm.
only beyond that do you need to start worry about content. You don't need to worry about content. You could start commenting on other people's stuff for a long time as you grow
Mm.
your network and as you excel in your job. You don't have to create anything new for yourself.
Mm.
And then maybe you hit this inflection point where you're ready to produce content on your own.
How did that course go for you guys?
You spend a little bit of time up front. Like having the idea is pretty easy, right? My course is called the Untethered Blueprint. So I basically try to teach people how to cut the cord and describe my path, towards doing this. So you spend time, you record these things, you can over engineer it and get it highly produced and spend a bunch of money, or you could lo-fi it. And I'm very much, the Ramones of like creators. Like I'm not overproducing shit, right? I'm not a hair metal band at all. Like, so, we record the stuff, iPhone and Zoom calls or whatever, and put together the content, and then bang, we release it, and I'm somebody that has a little bit of a hang up of like promoting myself and my products, which is my own issue, but I'm not out there every single day saying like, oh, check out the Untethered Blueprint, buy this book, buy Addicted to the Process, do this. So, we put it out there a couple times. I probably made, $100,000 worth of like sales off of it, and split that with my buddy Ryan, who helped me put it together. And it's still out there, it's still available. I don't push it on anybody. I get a couple sales, from it, but that's it. So I didn't look at it as something of like, I'm gonna push this thing every day and
Yeah.
try to get like a fat royalty check like every month. To me, it was just like, let's put it out there. Boom, you get like an instant influx because everybody, buys if they know who you are and you have brand presence and this kind of thing. And then you just leave it there, and that's how I did it. Now I've got an asset. If somebody's checking me out or my website or anything like that, they've got an asset that they can grab if they want. And if they don't, it's okay. I'm working on other things.
Did you get any like good feedback from like people that have like changed their life or anything like that, or cool experiences from the course? I'm sure you did.
I've been around this game long enough that a lot of the people that are LinkedIn famous and course creators or running their own business, like these were all kids that I coached. They're all like they're all my mentee. Like I get texts from all these people all the time, even now today, you know, these LinkedIn famous people, but I'm like your mentor's mentor. You know, like, hey Scott, how do I do this? I'm dealing with this imposter syndrome. I'm dealing with this thing over here. Like I'm thinking about doing that. So a lot of people have put it into practice, you know, and some of the things I taught was like when you're first getting started, maybe partner up with somebody. So you split some of the, you know, the lift, and then don't try to charge like an insane premium. Just try to charge a little bit. It's like getting people hooked on you and on some of your products, and you're kind of long playing it, and then find like a, you know, have like an asset that you sell that's a low cost one, have like a medium cost one. uh, you know, do some private coaching, see if you can get some advisory gigs and get some equity or get some cash out of this. And it's this diversified entrepreneur concept, rather than just Jeremy does sales coaching. Like that's one thing. You've got to have a menu of different things. So what if people don't want to do sales coaching for some reason? Then you're in big trouble if the market turns. So that's how I've always thought about it. So I have all these things that are, you know, assets through Scott Leese Consulting. You know, I've got surf and sales business, that's event revenue plus podcast revenue. I have this community, so there's revenue through membership to the community, assets, sponsorships through there, right? I do coaching stuff on the side. I've got equity. I do investments. I own different real estate properties. I mean, I have like 13 different streams of income that all just funnel in. And I've got different entities set up all over the place for asset protection, anonymity. You know, I've wove this web, if you will, um, putting these little things together. And if one of them tanks, you know, I'll survive because I have things coming from other places. And it's that type of financial freedom and security that, you know, I think people should be trying to seek.
We talked about earlier, you could maybe like if I'm helping people coach them on podcasting, I could either charge them $150 an hour, which we talked about is not good. So I want to do something more like a 3-month program. But how do you know like what you can not get away with, but like how do you know how elastic the charging is? My thoughts are if it's a transformational thing, you're going to have a better chance of making it like a higher ticket item. But I'm just like, how do you know, like even with like surf and sales or like any product like that digital course, like what the elasticity of like
Here's the thing, you don't.
right.
I'll pick on you for a second. Like you're thinking through this, you're like, what's the price elasticity? Man, you think I have ever thought about price elasticity like that before with my shit? Never, bro. Never. I'm just like, I think this should cost about this much. I think I would pay this. Let's see if other people will pay that. Right. And then the market tells you you've overshot the landing. Right. And nobody buys it. It's like, oops, okay, learn from that one, aim lower. Right. And I always sort of start off by trying to uh, provide 10x the value of whatever I'm charging. And I start small, and then over time I start raising it. You know, surf and sales was like $2,000 when we first started. Now it's 4,000, and we've sold out every single event. Right. So, I, again, to me, you could spend a lot of time like and now analyzing like what should be the price for this. Let me look at competitors offer. I just can't be bothered with that stuff, you know? So I just think like, okay, here's this thing that I'm doing. Here's what I would pay for it. Let's, you know, adjust the price down a little bit so it should be easy for people, and let's see what happens. And then we go from there.
No, I think that you just look at things like as experiments, which is smart. Like that's the way probably to do it. But where do people find you, Scott? If they want to, where do you want to send people?
Yeah, the best place to message me for the first time is on LinkedIn. I try to respond to everybody who sends me a real message, not an AI bot kind of thing. You you could check me out there. You can also check out surfandsales.com if you're looking for a alternative to sales conferences this year. And if anybody out there is a founder or a VP of sales is looking for some consulting and advisory help, hit me up. I'm happy to work with you.
Awesome. Thanks for the time as always, Scott.
Okay, Jeremy. Cheers, man.